Good evening. I am Dr. Aaron Spence, Superintendent of Virginia Beach City Public Schools, and I'm calling this school board annual organizational meeting to order, serving as chairman pro tem in accordance with School Board Bylaw 1-37 until a chairman is elected. At this time, please silence all electronic devices, and I would ask school board members to please register your presence on the voting pad. Thank you. At this time, please join me in a moment of silence, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. Please stand as you are able for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I will now proceed to describe the nomination and voting procedure for the chair and vice chair of the school board. Any school board member may nominate a candidate for chair. A nomination does not require a second. Any school board member making a nomination may discuss his or her nomination at that time. Other school board members will be allowed to discuss that nomination, make another nomination, or make other comments concerning any of the nominations. School board members are requested to keep comments to under 5 minutes. School board members who have not yet spoken during a round of voting have the right to comment or make a nomination before a school board member who has already spoken during that round of voting has the opportunity to speak a subsequent time. After a school board member has made comment to our nomination, I will ask if there are any other nominations for chair. When no further nominations are made, I will call for any final discussions of the candidates, and if there's no further discussion, then I will close the call for nominations. As you are aware, School Board Bylaws 1-18, 1-38, and Appendix B standing rules were amended in August 2016, and changes have been made to the voting procedures for chair and vice chair. If fewer than 4 candidates are nominated for the chair, candidates will be voted for electronically utilizing the electronic voting pad. If there are 3 candidates, then the colors green, red, and yellow will be used, and the candidates will draw from those colors. If there are 2 candidates, then the colors green and red will be used, and the candidates will draw from those colors. If there is 1 candidate, then that candidate will be assigned the color green. In that instance, then the color red may be used to indicate a vote against the candidate. Before the electronic voting board is open, the clerk will inform the school board members which candidate has been assigned which color. School board members will then vote for a candidate by selecting the color that corresponds to them on the electronic voting board. School board members may only cast votes on the electronic voting board using the colors that have been assigned to the candidates. Abstention votes are not allowed during the voting for chair and vice chair. When there is more than 1 candidate, then the colors red and yellow cannot be used to indicate a vote against a candidate or an abstention. When there is only 1 candidate, school board members may vote for the candidate by voting green or may vote against the candidate by voting red. School board members will vote electronically by selecting the color assigned to the candidate that they've chosen, and once all votes are registered electronically, the clerk will post the results on the monitor, and I will then read the results. If 4 or more candidates are nominated for the position of chair, then the candidates will be voted upon by written ballot. Each school board member in that circumstance will receive a written ballot and will write the name of the candidate chosen on the line that corresponds to the round of voting. The clerk will read the name of each school board member and which candidate the school board member voted for. It will be necessary for a nominated candidate to receive a majority vote of those school board members present to be elected chair. We will repeat the voting as many times as necessary to obtain a majority vote for 1 candidate. The same procedure will apply if there is a tie vote. After each round of voting, school board members may nominate additional candidates if no candidate receives a majority vote during the prior round. When repeated balloting is necessary, candidates nominated remain under consideration unless their nominations are withdrawn by the nominator or the candidate. When 1 candidate receives a majority vote of those school board members present, I will declare that candidate the chair, and the duly elected chair will then conduct the remainder of business on the board's agenda. Are there any objections, motions, or questions concerning this procedure? Hearing none, I'm going to proceed to call for nominations for chair. Ms. Riggs.
Sorry. I'm nominating Beverly Anderson for chair of the school board. She's been our chairman for the past 2 years. As the elected chair of this board, I think she's done a great job representing our school division. She has been at all of the events that she can possibly make it to. She represents us in a very positive light. She has a lot of experience in the school system, and I feel she's good at answering our constituents when there are questions very thoroughly, letting them know reasons why votes have been made or answering their questions that they have. I think she's done a super job with that. I'd like to see her continue leading our board as the chair, and I think that's all I need to say.
Thank you. Also, before I go on, Madam Clerk, I assume you've registered that Mr. McDonald is here. Okay. Are there any other nominations for chair or other comments about the nominated candidate? Ms. Manning.
I would like to nominate Miss Carolyn Weems for chair, and I have both comments here for Miss Weems and regarding our current school board chair. I believe it's important for the school board chair to be able to collaborate and communicate with every board member, and not just those with whom the chair agrees. Every board member has the right to their views on a topic, whether or not the chair agrees with them. The chair should never try to stifle a board member's voice just because they disagree. Our current chair does not communicate with me, but instead reaches out to only those members who agree with her. I often come into meetings realizing that the majority of the board seemingly has information on topics of which I have not been informed. It's also important for the school board chair to understand the limits of their authority. The school board chair does not have any additional authority than any other board member unless it is expressly given to them in the bylaws or by a vote by the board. Ms. Anderson has overstepped her authority on multiple occasions by speaking on or acting on behalf of the board when she has not been given the authority to do so. 2 years ago, the Pilot editorial board agreed with me and wrote an article on her improper actions, yet she continues to overstep her authority. Most recently by interfering in an audit investigation and potentially trying to intimidate our auditor. Additionally, she acted on behalf of the board regarding a personnel matter when she did not have the authority to do so. Furthermore, she gave false information to the public on a Facebook page regarding a closed session topic. Ms. Anderson also continues to answer emails with the phrase, "on behalf of the board," on topics with which I disagree, even though I have repeatedly asked her to stop. This board should have asked Ms. Anderson to step down from her position as school board chair after her egregious actions with the audit. Any board member who votes to support her re-election to any leadership on this board is showing that they approve of her improper actions and are enabling the behavior to continue. For those of you who have been promised committee positions or future leadership roles in exchange for your support of Ms. Anderson, I find that behavior shameful. My vote will be going to a proven leader, Ms. Carolyn Weems. Ms. Weems consistently tries to hear from all sides. She not only tries to collaborate with her colleagues, but she values input from the community, including teachers, staff, and parents. Ms. Weems has a great relationship with leaders in our community and has been a proven advocate for Virginia Beach students and families. Ms. Weems and I agree on many topics, but on topics of which we do not agree, she is quick to try to understand my point of view and values and respects my right to disagree with her. Ms. Weems has the knowledge and experience to be an effective leader of this board because she will listen to every member and respect differences in opinion. For these reasons, I believe the best choice for chair of the Virginia Beach School Board is Ms. Carolyn Weems.
Thank you. Are there any other comments or nominations for chair?
I just need to say, I think the purpose of this vote tonight is to choose our school board chair. It's not a time or place to spread unsubstantiated hearsay. If you want to say something positive about the nominees or the candidates you're voting for, that's appropriate. But to tear down another colleague just to try to get votes for the person you're voting for, you're supporting is wrong.
Ms. Holtz?
Thank you. Using hearsay comments that are full of misinformation does not speak well. I'll begin again. Using hearsay comments that are full of misinformation does not speak well of the person who is spreading these false accusations. It is so unfortunate to have colleagues on this board who make false accusations full of misinformation in an effort to denigrate a fellow board member. And I also, at this point, want to thank the community, the 4 sitting board members who won. We won with landslide votes, and we want to thank the community for supporting us and for approving of our efforts here on the board. Thank you.
Are there any other comments or nominations? Mr. Edwards?
I'm going to support Mrs. Anderson for re-election, but to put it in context, it wasn't a perfect year. Mrs. Anderson, as chair, faced a number of unique challenges, some external, a lot of them internal to this board, and the responses were not always the best. But I think she and I have talked, and I think in those areas she's prepared to change, and I appreciate that. As I say, again, some of the things that have been said are semi-true and some are not. But again, perfection was not there. And it's probably never going to be there, but I appreciate her efforts and look forward to another year.
Mrs. Weems?
Am I on? I will hesitantly accept Mrs. Manning's nomination for chair, and for 2 reasons, because I think we all know how this is going to go. We've been here before. But I think it's important to provide colleagues an alternative to the current leadership. And I also do think it's appropriate for me to publicly explain my perception of how things have been operated, how we have operated as a board these past 2 years under the current leadership. As most of you know, I've been a member of this board for 16 years. I've got history here. I've served with 4 superintendents, about a half a dozen different leaders, chairs and vice chairs, and about 40 different colleagues. I've served with people that like me and people that are different than me. Up until the last couple of years, I have enjoyed listening, understanding, debating, and working with all my colleagues, with the ones who agreed with me, but most importantly, working with those who disagreed with me, up until the last couple years. We worked together in the past. We communicated, we respected each other. We didn't make faces or giggle or snarky remarks up here on the dais when others spoke. I have fond memories of working with my seatmate, Brent McKenzie, and Pat Edmondson, who could not be more opposite politically than I am than anybody else. But that didn't matter. I have fond memories of different personalities. Loud, fun Ashley McLeod, quiet, reserved Rita Sweet Bolito. Memories of working with highly intelligent, much more organized people than me, well-spoken members, Neil Rose, Art Tate, Bill Brunke, and then the salt of the earth members that we've had, retired military, Sam Reed, a man of the cloth. The fact is, though, that we all worked together. We felt equal, and we felt that we each had a voice on the dais and in the workshops. Dan was very organized. He controlled his motions, and even though sometimes it drove me crazy that he stayed so neutral on issues, I know he stayed that way in order to guide this board in one direction. That direction is to do what's best for students, but to do it respectfully and together. Much has changed in the last 2 years. We are fragmented, we are divisive, and this board is too darn political. Not all of us are invited to the table. It is so frustrating to come to a board meeting knowing that 7 or 8 people have been given information about a subject and I have not. The first time I know about it is here on the dais. I think questions and disagreements are not encouraged. In fact, I think that they're looked down on. I think Ms. Anderson has allowed closed sessions to be a means of attacking fellow board members that don't agree on the same topic. Committee assignments have not been done according to interest or skill sets. Inappropriate posts have been made, inappropriate responses, as Mr. Edwards has said, and Ms. Manning. Bios, information has been censored. I don't agree with this. Sadly, this board needs to really work hard together. I do appreciate Mrs. Anderson's willingness, and I hope that our comments tonight will help her to move forward. I don't mean to be a Debbie Downer, but, you know, I'm not pleased with the way things have been going on. And I'm not putting all the blame on Ms. Anderson. I mean, it's a board, but it's got to come down from the leader. So I hope that this next year that we can all work together. We can get back to the same old board that we used to have, working together, respecting each other. But it needs to be modeled by our leaders. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Other comments? Mrs. Anderson?
I thank my colleagues for their support who have already said they are supporting me at this time. And yes, I do accept the nomination. I choose not to say disparaging remarks about my colleagues because this is not a venue to tear down any of my colleagues at this time. It's also not a venue to air out things that are misconceptions or non-truths. So with that, I think I appreciate all the positive comments that I've heard, and I hope none of my colleagues will tear down any of the other colleagues.
Any other comments or nominations for chair?
I would like to make a comment.
Okay, Mrs. Manning first. Okay, Mrs. Weems.
Several of us have made comments privately concerning concerns, and nothing has been changed. Therefore, I thought it was very appropriate to talk about how I felt things have been going on for the last 2 years. Again, it is just fact, and nothing I said is not true. It's my perception, and I do, though, respect all my colleagues, but I just hope that we move forward and really clean our act up and do a better job. Thank you.
Mrs. Manning.
I would also like to say that nothing that I have said is a misconception or non-truth. As a member of the audit committee, I've witnessed firsthand what has happened on this board. I've tried to discuss this with my colleagues behind the scenes and resolve it behind the scenes, and that has not happened. So that is why I did bring it forth to the community for transparency.
Mrs. Riggs.
I'd like to call the question, please.
Two-thirds vote to call the question. Okay, does that require a motion, or we just go on and call the question? Okay. Thanks. Do we have a second on the motion to call the question? We do not. That's it. Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, so we don't. So any other comments? We do have a second?
No, I was gonna ask a question, but go ahead.
I'm sorry, what's the
Can't-
question?
There's no question at this point.
Well, I've got a motion, I don't have a second.
Okay.
So if I, okay, I do have a second. So that we have that, any discussion on the motion to call the question? Or is discussion allowable on that motion?
Discussion allowable on that motion. The motion, if it passes, will be to shut down further discussion.
Correct, on the candidates. Mr. Edwards?
Calling the question is stifling your colleagues, and I think it should be done with great hesitation.
Any other comments or discussion on that? Okay, we do have a motion in a second, and so we're gonna need to take a vote on that. And as a reminder, this is gonna require a 2/3 majority to call the question. Madam Clerk, you'll let them know when they can vote? We're ready, thank you. Yeah. Okay, that did not get 8 votes, and so we're going to continue with discussion. Are there any further comments or discussion about the nominations for chair? Seeing none, I'm going to ask for one final call for nominations. Seeing none, I'm going to close the call for nominations. So at this point, Madam Clerk, I think we have 2 candidates. If you would announce those. Yeah, so we have 2 candidates. I'm just going to confirm that you got the same candidates I got, Mrs. Weems and Mrs. Anderson. Okay, and you all are going to draw a color between red and green.
Red. I'm really trying to mess people up.
All right, and so we're clear. Mrs. Weems has drawn green and Mrs. Anderson has drawn red board members. And so in a moment, the clerk is going to set up the board for your vote. If you are voting red, if you are pressing red, you are voting for Mrs. Anderson for chair. If you are pressing green, you are voting for Mrs. Weems for chair. As a reminder, you may not abstain from these votes. I count 8 to 3 for red. That would be for Mrs. Anderson. And therefore, Mrs. Anderson has been elected chair, and I will now turn over the meeting to your chairman.
I thank my colleagues for their continued support, and I look forward to working with the administration and my fellow colleagues throughout this year. This board is made up of very talented and educated individuals that bring diverse perspectives to our community. Our ability to listen, discuss, and work through issues is reflective of the different perspectives we bring, but also the educated ability to work out compromises for the good of the school system. That's a strength that we can count on. I look forward to building on that strength as we work together during the next school year. With that being said, the chair will accept nominations for vice chair. Mr. Edwards.
I'd like to nominate Kim Melnick. There are a number of people on this board that have leadership potential, and she is clearly one of them, and put her hat in the ring, and I think she has the demonstrated capability of supporting the chair and also engaging all of our colleagues on a continuing basis, which is the role of a good vice chair. Thank you.
Are there further nominations for vice chair? Mrs. Weems.
I'd like to nominate Ms. Manning for vice chair. I too think that all of us can handle the responsibilities of vice chair.
No, when it's read, yeah.
But I think that it's very important for the vice chair to complement the chair, but not to be an echo chamber. And I think that just having the difference between Mrs. Anderson and Mrs. Manning would make a good combination, because I think that as the vice chair should support the chair, I think the vice chair should also have the backbone or the spine to go against the chair when it needs to be. So I think Mrs. Manning has proved that she's capable of doing that, and I think that that they would make a good duo and keep us all accountable. Thank you.
Are there further nominations? Are there any other comments? Okay, seeing none. You need these back?
We have one.
Mrs. Manning?
Thank you, Ms. Weems, for the nomination, and I would also like to thank Mr. McDonald for his service as vice chair. I believe he has always conducted himself in a professional manner, and he has valued the points of view of others. And because of that, I have respected his leadership, even if we do not always agree. I cannot support Ms. Melnick because I believe that there have been some very divisive and things that she has done against me in closed session and otherwise that is not acceptable of a leader. And she has been involved in some things that we know about behind the scenes, again, that have happened in closed session, and for that reason, I cannot support her. If elected, I would strive to listen to every point of view, to be prepared for every meeting in advance, and I would continue to value community input, and to continue to ask questions to remain informed. No one is perfect, but my intentions would always be to do what is best for our students and employees.
Do we have any other comments? Mrs. Holtz?
I would like to comment that Ms. Manning is the last person that we need as vice chair. She fails to recognize the accomplishments that Virginia Beach City Public Schools have made. She continues to try to micromanage in areas that she has no knowledge of, and she continues to bring misconceptions to the board, and she actually is the divisive feature on this board. Until she came on this board 2 years ago, we didn't have these problems that Ms. Weems speak of. So I certainly will not be voting for her, and I hope nobody else will.
Are there any other comments? Mrs. Felton?
Good evening. I'd just like to say that my vote will be for Ms. Milnick to be vice chair this evening. I have seen her strive to serve as a board member. She recognizes others, and most of all, she respects those individuals that encourage to do well. And above all, she has been able to accept those things that she cannot change, and she's willing to move forward as the will of the board. So Ms. Milner will have my vote this evening as vice chair.
Do we have any other comments? Mrs. Weems?
I'd just like to thank Ms. Holtz for keeping true to her comments when we were talking about chair, about this is not the place to downgrade fellow colleagues. Thank you for doing that.
Any other comments? Seeing none. Mrs. Alexander? Was Ms. Melnick? Yes. So when the voting board is ready, Mrs. Melnick, if you vote red, you're voting for Mrs. Melnick. If you vote green, you're voting for Mrs. Manning. Is the voting board ready? Okay. You may vote at this time. Mrs. Melnick has the majority of the votes. The vote is 8-3. Congratulations, Mrs. Melnick. We will not be changing seats this evening because of the technology up here that has to also be changed. But the next meeting, then you will be seated at my right. Thank you. Next on the agenda is the appointment of two very important people that keep us on track as a school board. Our school board clerk and deputy clerk. The chair will entertain a motion to appoint Diane Alexander as our school board clerk and also Susan Keep as our deputy clerk. Mrs. Melnick has made the motion. It is seconded by Mrs. Rye. Is there discussion? Mrs. Weems?
Just once again, thank you for keeping us all in order. Y'all are wonderful, and I know I bug you to death, Diane, when I call you and ask for everybody's numbers. But I thank you for that, or I ask where I'm supposed to be at what time and all that stuff. So, but I just appreciate you so much. Thank you.
Any others?
I just want to
Mrs.
echo
Melnick?
that. Y'all are wonderful. Thank you for all that you do. And Diane's is the only number I know. After
Same
4
here.
years.
Same
263 1016. Thank you. Thank you.
Great.
Now everybody knows it.
That's why she gets my phone calls.
Seeing no other discussion, the voting board is open. And this is just straight yes or no. And that was unanimous. Congratulations, Mrs. Alexander and Mrs. Kipe. The adjusted changes for committee assignments were posted in red, and I also passed out a revised edition. All of you have that at your seats. A revised edition of committee changes. If you take a minute just to look at those. And the chair will entertain a motion to accept, to approve the committee changes. Mrs. Riggs has made the motion to accept, seconded by Mrs. Melnick. Is there discussion? Mrs. Manning?
Yeah, there are several on here that are TBD. How are we going to handle that?
The TBD is because we weren't sure. We kind of knew that Mrs. Melnick was up for vice chair, but we weren't sure. And at the last meeting, Mrs. Riggs also and Mrs. Rye also indicated that they might be interested in vice chair. So those are the ones that we knew about. So we kind of figured there might be an opening there. So at this point, Mrs. Melnick will come off of that committee because she is the new elected vice chair. And Dottie Holtz will be taking her spot on that committee, Committee 3, and that was the difference. That was
Okay,
what
I just thought that should be
decided.
clarified.
Thank you for pointing that out. Is there further discussion, Ms. Weems?
So are we only discussing the additions, the ones in lavender?
The ones that are kind of highlighted, yeah, in red, yes, and
Okay. And
people's names are in red.
if we have discussions for others, when would be the appropriate time to do that?
We
In
make those.
June?
Yes, we make those changes in July, but we need to know probably sometime in June what
Okay.
your preferences are.
Okay, and the Interagency Adult Basic Education Advisory Committee? What is that?
Where is that?
That was an add-on, I believe, F2D, or is that some, okay, so Ashley McLeod was on that?
Yes, she
Okay.
was.
Okay,
And so I just put Mrs. Hughes on there to take her spot. And on the
Yeah.
Ad hoc Strategic Planning Committee, that is an addition as well. So Ms. Riggs will be at this point in time, Mrs. Riggs will be the strategic plan liaison, and Mrs. Rye will be the alternate. They will be attending, both of them, however, will be attending those meetings so that they're up to par on what's happening. Go ahead, Ms.
Wait,
Weems, and then I'll go to
Okay,
Ms.
with the
Manning.
advisory, I mean, are we gonna be getting information about when, I haven't gotten any information about meetings or anything with that particular one. Am I going to
I don't
miss-
think they've had a meeting yet for
Okay,
the ad
I
hoc.
just wanna make sure I don't miss something that I'm
Right.
supposed to miss, that I'm not supposed to miss. Okay.
So relative to that, you had an update where Lisa talked about that timeline and what that would look at, and
Okay.
so we haven't had the first meeting. That's coming up next week, 17th. Yep.
Okay, great, thank you.
Mrs. Manning?
Okay, so I recall, and please correct me if I'm wrong, but did we not have to change our policy
Not for this.
for the ad hoc strategic plan?
At this point in time, we have not.
Ms. Swinetti? Don't we need to change that before we can?
Right now, you've got it as, so you've got a system advisory committee, in which case you have a liaison and an alternate.
Sorry. Right now, you have the ad hoc strategic planning committee is a citizens advisory committee, in which case you only have a school board member and an alternate school board member liaison and an alternate. There is a proposal to go back to the policy review committee next week to take a look at what structure it's going to be. If you're going to put 2 school board members on, we're going to have to change the structure. So right now, the appointment under citizens advisory committee would be appropriate as a liaison and an alternate.
Okay, so this is as a liaison and an alternate for the ad hoc strategic plan committee.
Correct. If you want to make them voting members, which has been suggested, that's going back to policy review next
Okay.
week to take a look at how we're going to structure that.
Okay, thank you for that clarification.
So that's why we did that way now, because that's the way it's written currently. Any other discussion? Okay. Seeing none, the voting board is open. So the adjusted committee assignments have been approved. The chair will now entertain a motion to approve the school board bylaws, Appendix B, as printed in our agenda packets. If anybody needs to take a look at those, I do have a copy, although the copy that I have is extremely small, but if you have concerns about any of them, I'll pass these out if anybody needs to review them. Seeing none, is there a motion to approve the school board bylaws, Appendix B, as printed? Mrs. Holtz has made the motion, seconded by Mrs. Riggs. Further discussion? Mr. Edwards?
Just a clarification for those of us up here as well as everybody. Are we changing anything in it, or are we just reaffirming?
Reaffirming,
Okay. I thought
unless
so, but
someone has
it's good
something to
know.
add at this point.
Right.
So, any further discussion? Seeing none, voting board is open. Next on the agenda, the chair will entertain a motion to approve the schedule of meetings as they were posted in our agenda packet for the remainder of the school year 2018-19 and as proposed for the school year 2019-20. The motion is made by Ms. Melnick, seconded by Ms. Manning. Oh,
Ms.
well, they're
Ryan.
both of you. I saw Ms. Manning's hand first. Is there discussion? Seeing none, the voting board is open. That was unanimous. The schedule of meetings has been approved. We will now proceed with our public awards recognitions. Mr. McDonald. Oh, I thought it was
It's me. It's me.
Ms. Melnick? Thank you.
Our first recognition of the evening is for two Ocean Lakes High School students who earned perfect scores on the ACT and SAT, respectively. Less than 1% of approximately 2 million students who take each exam earn perfect scores. Let's meet them now. Cole Faggart, a senior in the school's Math and Science Academy, earned a top score of 1600 on the SAT, which tests evidence-based reading and writing as well as mathematics. A track and cross-country runner, Faggart is involved in numerous school clubs, including National Honor Society. He is also interested in science and has participated in numerous NASA summer programs where students study science, technology, engineering, and math. After college, he hopes to work at NASA and has applied for early admission to the Massachusetts Institute of Technology, better known as MIT, the California Institute of Technology, Caltech, and the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill. Next, oh, I know. Woo!
Excellent. It is excellent.
Next, Noah Doe, a junior who is also in the school's Math and Science Academy, achieved the highest possible composite score of 36 on the ACT, which tests students in English, mathematics, reading, and science. Doe, too, is involved in numerous sports and clubs, including varsity tennis, Latin Honor Society, and Future Health Professionals. He is exploring his college options, but hopes to pursue a career in medicine. Congratulations to both of you on an amazing job. Congratulations.
Our next recognition is for the 2018 Code Virginia, or Code VA, Computer Science Educator of the Year, Allenton Elementary School Instructional Technology Specialist, Farrah Faust. Mrs. Faust was honored at a ceremony in Richmond last week to kick off Computer Science Education Week in Virginia, and was given the award by Virginia's Superintendent of Public Education, Dr. James Lane, who called her, quote, one of the most amazing computer science teachers in the state. Mrs. Faust was nominated by her school's media specialist, Heather Thomas, who wrote in the nomination, Farrah is an unsung hero of her school. She is constantly busy behind the scenes helping teachers and students enhance lessons. She works tirelessly, trying to find resources to make lessons interesting, engaging, and fun. After school hours, she often texts, tweets, or emails ideas on how we can use technology to integrate into curriculum. She spends her, quote, free time learning all she can about educational technology. Her time off in the summer is spent attending conferences and training. She goes the extra mile for her staff and students. Congratulations to our 2018 Code VA Computer Science Educator of the Year.
Our final recognition of the evening is for the 2018 Adapted Physical Educator of the Year, Robert Magus. This award is presented by the Virginia Association for Health, Physical Education, Recreation, and Dance. In addition to helping students every day as an adaptive PE teacher, Mr. Magus has been actively involved in the Little Feet Meet and Achilles Kids. Those events provide students with disabilities the opportunity to develop physical fitness, train, compete, and experience the joy and pride of participation in athletic events. Congratulations to our 2018 Adapted Physical Educator of the Year. This concludes our recognitions for this evening.
Dr. Spence, we look forward to hearing the superintendent's report.
Thank you, and good evening, Madam Chairwoman and members of the board. Here we are, our first meeting of 2019, and I'm excited to share with you and our community 5 things that they need to know this January. Number 1, the deadline is drawing near. Tomorrow, January 9th, all students interested in attending one of our high school academy programs or advanced academic programs must submit their applications. All VBCPS students can submit those applications online, and for non-VBCPS students interested in applying, they need to submit their application directly to the appropriate program coordinator. So good luck to all of this year's applicants. Second, Virginia Principal Appreciation Week will soon be here. The week, which runs from January 20th through 26th, honors and highlights the incredible work of our school principals. So let me be one of the first to give my thanks and appreciation to our outstanding school leaders who work every day to make sure our children have amazing educational experiences. I also welcome our family and community members to join us in sharing their appreciation when the week officially kicks off on Sunday, January the 20th. At number 3, this Thursday, January 10th, we are hosting a Parent Connection workshop, navigating the special education evaluation and eligibility process. Parents will receive direct insight from members of our Office of Programs for Exceptional Children on how to address concerns about the multi-step process, including the referral, screening, evaluation, determination of eligibility, the development of an IEP, and reevaluation process. The workshop will be held from 6:30 to 8 p.m. at Princess Anne High School. Registration is required. For more information, interested persons should call the Office of Community Engagement at 263-1936. Fourth, as a reminder to all of our staff and families, all schools and administrative offices will be closed on Monday, January 21st in observance of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Day. Let me encourage our families to use the day together as an opportunity to reflect on Dr. King's groundbreaking message around equality, hope, and belief in the power of a united society. And finally, at number 5, speaking of calendar reminders, just a quick recap to the number of changes in the last week of January. As a reminder, Monday, January 28th, all Virginia Beach City Public Schools will be in session. Previously, that day had been scheduled as a staff and virtual learning day, but due to school cancellations from both Hurricanes Florence and Michael, we did announce last October that the semester would be extended. Therefore, the staff and virtual learning day will instead take place on Friday, February 1st. So again, all students should come to school on Monday, January the 28th, and their virtual learning assignments will be at home on Friday, February the 1st. An updated calendar is, of course, available on vbschools.com. Thank you, Madam Chairwoman. That completes my report.
Thank you, Dr. Spence. Madam Clerk, do we have any speakers on agenda items this evening?
No, ma'am.
Thank you. The chair will entertain a motion to approve the minutes of the December 11th meeting. The motion is made by Ms. Riggs, seconded by Ms. Felton. Voting board is open. Thank you. The minutes have been approved. The chair will,
You have to give a reason for abstention.
yes, Mrs. Hughes, I'm assuming you abstained because you were not
Because I
here
wasn't
with us
here, yes, ma'am.
as part of our board at that time. Thank you. The chair will entertain a motion to adopt the agenda this evening. The motion is made by Mrs. Rye, seconded by Ms. Melnick. The voting board is open, I think. Is it open? Okay. The agenda has been adopted. The consent agenda this evening has 3 items on it. Item A is the Entrepreneurship and Business Academy 2-year implementation evaluation recommendations. Item B is the recommendation of the general contractor for Salem High School stadium light replacement. And item C is the religious exemptions as were posted in our agenda packets. The chair will entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda. Mrs. Felton has made the motion, seconded by Ms. Holtz. Voting board is open. The consent agenda has been approved. Under action this evening, the chair will entertain a motion to approve the personnel report and administrative appointments. Mrs. Melnick has made the motion, seconded by Mrs. Rye. Is there discussion? Seeing none, the voting board is open. The voting, the personnel report and administrative appointments have been approved. Dr. Spence, would you like to introduce our newest administrator?
I would. I actually have two. Is Nanette Keenan here? Could I ask her to stand up? So you actually approved this recommendation at the November 13th school board meeting, but she was not available to be here at that time. And we wanted to introduce you to Nanette. She has extensive project management background in healthcare and higher education, and most recently has been serving as a project manager specialist at the University of Virginia Health Systems. And I'm very pleased that you all did approve our recommendation for her to serve as project manager in the Information Services Department of Technology. Congratulations. And if I could ask Lauren Siderhoud to please stand up. Mrs. Siderhoud has served with distinction as a police officer in the city of San Jose, California, a school resource officer and DARE officer, crime scene investigator in the city of Santa Clara, California. And I am pleased this evening that you have approved our recommendation for her to serve as coordinator of security and safe schools in the Office of Safe Schools. Congratulations. Wait. I think you have some guests. We'd like you to introduce them.
First of all, thank you very much. I have my husband, Matt, and a good family friend. His name is Matt Paul Mateo, to differentiate between the two. And then my husband's twin, Hans. They still insist on dressing the same. My good friend, Kat. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Congratulations to you all, Madam Chairwoman. That is all.
Thank you, Dr. Spence. The chair will entertain a motion to approve the textbook adoptions for elementary social studies and elementary math as were presented to us for information last month. Is there a motion? Mrs. Melnick has made the motion, seconded by Mrs. Felton. Is there discussion? Mr. Edwards.
I won't repeat everything I said when it was on information, but the local process is as it should be and appreciated. The ability, the options provided from Richmond are not at all appropriate and are totally ignore the fiscal issues that local school boards may have. And I'm hopeful that over time that message will be sent by others and received up there, and meaningful changes to the availability, whether it be approving schools developing their own, which a school division our size could probably do that, or collaborative pulling of free material together by multiple school divisions. There's so many options if the thought process could get outside the box in Richmond. Thank you.
Mrs. Manning?
I'm also not pleased with the cost of these textbooks, but I did, Dr. Bergen was kind enough to answer some of my questions on them, and I'd just like the public to know that my question was, can we extend what we currently have? And that is not an option because we would not be in compliance with SOL requirements. So I think that's important for us to know. And you know, I really hope that we're successful in getting some changes made at the state level so that we can have some more affordable curriculum for our students. Thank you for the work that you all are doing on that, Dr. Poole.
Any other comments? Okay, seeing none, the voting board is open. The motion has passed. For information this evening, item A is the comprehensive annual financial report for fiscal year 18 with the external auditor review. Welcome,
Good
Mr.
evening,
Honziger.
Chairwoman Anderson, Vice Chairwoman Melnick, and Dr. Spence, and members of the school board. The comprehensive annual financial report, what we call the CAFR, It's a 226-page document. At this point in time, I'm going to leave a copy with the clerk. It'll be in her office if any board members want to preview it. We will put it on the web as soon as practicable. We've got to do some formatting and things like that to get that done. This report was presented to the audit committee last month, and so we had scheduled to have it presented to you tonight. And I would like to introduce to you Greg Busnick, who's a principal with the firm of Clifton, Larson, and Allen, which is our external CPA firm. And welcome.
Thanks. Good evening, everybody.
Welcome.
My name is Greg Busink. I'm a principal with Clifton Larson Allen. We just went through a rebranding, so now we're just CLA. You can call us that, so that's a little easier, a little less to type if you're taking notes. So I'm happy to say that we issued our opinion on the financial statements, and it was an unmodified or a clean opinion. So it's the best form of assurance that we can give. So it's what you want. Management puts a lot of time and effort. You saw a copy of the CAFRs, 226 pages of. It's not easy reading. I definitely recommend that you don't try to read it in one sitting. Even though you are all educators, you might be able to get through it, but there's a lot to it. So we want to thank management and all the staff for their help. They spent a lot of time with us getting the information together. So of that 226 pages, 6 pages of it is ours, and then the rest of it is theirs. So we give them an opinion and a report on internal control and compliance with laws and regulations, and then the rest of it is their work that they've done during the year, recording the transactions, getting the information, summarizing it, and reporting it in an appropriate format. That also is an award-winning format. They get the GFOA and ASBO certificates. They've got them for several years, so that's a feather in their cap that they put a lot of time and effort into the quality of their work. We did meet with the audit committee back in December, went through the report in detail, answered the questions as best we could, and I think we left in good standing with them. I'm happy to say that the report on compliance, internal controls, had no findings impacting the schools, so that's a good thing there. This year, there's one new standard that impacted the school board, and it was for OPEB, and I know you guys probably have some discussions about that, so I won't put a lot of detail, but that's something that you'll notice that's different this year's financial statements. That's really all I wanted to say tonight and present. I'll be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Do you have any questions? Mr. Edwards?
Not a question, just to echo that 226 pages. I commend it to my colleagues. It is chock full of information, meaningful information about the school division, which, as board members, we should be aware of when we're engaging the public. And I would encourage the public, once we have it on the website, to go through it. It's everything from the descriptions of our tax base to how we spend our money and the various programs. It's good info. So don't let the size sway you from not engaging the document. Thank you.
Any other comments, Ms. Weems?
Can we get our own copies, or do we just have to get it off the web? In the past, we've gotten our own copies, correct?
We can provide paper copies for those of you that request it.
Okay.
It's voluminous.
Yeah.
So anybody that,
Okay.
any school board member that wants a paper copy will provide that. We've also put a copy with our media folks
Right.
in the media until we get the document on the web.
Okay. I would like a paper copy, please. Thank you.
Anybody else? Anyone else on the board? Mrs. Hughes would like a copy also. Is there anyone else? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next, under information, item B is new high school health and physical education courses. Welcome, Dr. DeVries.
Thank you. Good evening, Chairwoman Anderson, Vice Chair Melnick, members of the school board, and Dr. Spence. I'm Nicole DeVries, the Director of K-12 and Gifted Programs in the Department of Teaching and Learning. I'm here this evening to provide you with information regarding the addition of several course proposals for high school health and physical education. Advanced PE is currently a course offering to all 11th and 12th grade students as a year-long elective. Most schools offer advanced PE in the form of a weight training course or a course that focuses on team sports. This evening, we are here to propose an expansion of the advanced PE course offerings to include 3 new courses: recreational activities, personal fitness, and a personal training certification course in which students will have the opportunity to earn a credential. All 3 of these courses are proposed for implementation in the fall of 2019. Recreational activities is a year-long, 1-credit PE course which, upon approval, will be offered to 11th and 12th grade students. The addition of this course to the Advanced Health and Advanced PE elective repertoire of courses will appeal to those students who are interested in exploring non-traditional forms of physical education that are considered lifetime activities. Such activities may include fishing, various forms of aerobics, cycling, golf, and kickboxing. The course is designed to meet all standards of learning associated with 11th and 12th grade health and PE, including motor skill development, anatomical basis of movement, fitness planning, energy balance, and the course has a particular emphasis on social development. This slide shows the budget impact for the implementation of the new recreational activities course. Expenses related to the addition of this course will include curriculum development and additional equipment that may be needed. The proposed personal fitness course is a year-long 1-credit PE course, which upon approval will also be offered to 11th and 12th grade students. This course will have an emphasis on individualized fitness planning and expands upon fitness planning concepts that are introduced in the health and PE 9th and 10th grade courses. The personal fitness curriculum is intended to teach students how to improve the many aspects of wellness, including cardiovascular fitness, muscular strength and endurance, flexibility, mental health, nutrition, and personal safety. This curriculum aligns with the 11th and 12th grade health and physical education standards of learning. This slide shows the budget impact for the implementation of the new personal fitness course. Expenses related to the addition of this course include curriculum development. The proposed certified personal trainer course is a full-year 1-credit course offered to students interested in obtaining an industry credential or certification in personal training. Throughout the course, in addition to preparing for the credential, students will explore career opportunities associated with this credential, such as personal training, athletic training, and physical therapy. Schools will also have the opportunity to partner with area fitness centers to provide students with work experience in the field. Students will also earn a certification in CPR and AED. This credential is offered in association with the National Academy of Sports Medicine, or NASM. Teachers who instruct this course will be certified through NASM at no cost to the school division. This slide shows the budget impact for implementation of the new personal training certification course. Expenses related to the addition of this course will include curriculum development, the textbook required by the National Academy of Sports Medicine, and students who choose to sit for the exam would assume that exam fee. Thank you for your time this evening and for your consideration of these proposed courses to expand the advanced PE elective offerings at the high school level. At this time, I have with me Ms. Sheila Jones, Health and Physical Education Coordinator, to answer any questions that you may have.
Does anyone have any questions? Mrs. Holtz?
Thank you. Will these classes be offered at every high school, or is there a central place where the students go?
They will be at every high school.
Oh,
as long as the course enrollment makes.
All right, thank you.
Mrs. Weems?
I think this is great. I mean, you know, we talk about the kind of a national crisis, the obesity and the lack of movement for our kids. and several of us have been talking about classes like this for forever. And I wish it would go down to the elementary and middle school level, but maybe we can start it here and then move it down. Because, you know, when you do PE or a team sport, you know, when you're after school, you just can't get like 20 of your buddies to go play. So I think this personal fitness, how important it is, and its lifetime is just awesome. So say I go to high school and I want to do kickboxing. So does that mean that kickboxing, like you get to pick what you wanted, and then hopefully we have an instructor that's good? I mean, how does it work?
No, so the course, the course you're referring to would actually be the recreational activities course. And throughout the span of the course, which is a 1-year course, the teacher would hit upon various recreational activities. So kickboxing may be one of those activities. So might be aerobics, fishing. that kind of stuff.
Okay. So and then that would be the advanced PE.
That's right. So they're all advanced PE. Once you get to 11th and 12th
Right.
grade, PE is no longer a required
And
course. So
and then the personal fitness, is that all different things too, or
So
kind of that
personal
you-
fitness focuses more on developing an individualized fitness plan
Okay.
and the nutrition, wellness, those kind of pieces. So there may be some activities woven into the instruction of that course, but the main focus is on developing that wellness plan.
Okay. I've got some other ideas I want to share with you, Nicole.
Sure.
About this. I
Absolutely.
think it's great. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Mr. Edwards?
The standard advanced PE, will that be dropped? And students will be making a choice between these?
No, so as long as the staffing is there at the high school, at the individual high schools, then they can offer any variety of those advanced PE courses. So we're just looking to expand what advanced PE is.
Okay.
So the high school typically offers weight
My only
training.
concern is that anybody taking advanced would be because they either were uninformed or couldn't decide between the two new offerings, setting aside the personal trainer one. All three of those are phenomenal. I would encourage my colleagues to find an opportunity to visit PE, observe PE at the middle and elementary school levels. Some of the concerns expressed previously have been effectively dealt with. They've got exciting new ways of engaging kids or students throughout their PE periods with continuous meaningful activity and where they develop their own plans and execute them. It's really neat stuff. So we're making some headway now, K through 12. So thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Mrs. Rye?
Hi. So it's great to see student wellness expanded in still new ways. So mine is, I was going to ask about staffing, so do you envision, and it may be a question for someone else in the room, how this will work actually, if the present staff would accommodate this, or is this all to be determined?
Right, so just, it's determined by high school, of course. So just as with any elective course, we would, it would be partially determined by interest of student enrollment and if the course makes, and then they would weave that into the master schedule as appropriate.
And factored into the allocations that way, based
The
on student
staffing-
interest?
Correct, so the staff, we don't anticipate any additional staffing. The staffing is there, it's just a matter of what kind of interest is garnered.
Thank you.
Mrs. Manning?
I'm very excited about all three of these. These are great. As a former certified personal trainer myself, I understand that they can go straight from high school directly into the workforce with that certification. Couple questions that I have. Will this begin in next year, 1920 school year?
Yes.
Okay. And then for the NASM CPT, it says that the credentialing is optional, but there are exam fees. Are they all required to take the certification exam?
So they're not, they're not required, you wanna? Sure.
I had hip surgery. So that I had these courses when I was in Loudon, so I'm very familiar with
great.
how it works. So the question is, for the credentialing exam, it is optional. Students choose to go or not to go for that.
They don't have to sit for it, but that's the only way to get the credential, obviously, and then it would go onto their transcript.
So that is a big deal. And we had significant success with the credentialing exam. Students have two options, two chances to pass, I guess I should say.
Okay,
And
it's
then
very
again,
hard.
the training's free for the instructors.
Okay, what was your success in Loudoun County? What percentage of students actually
I don't
would
really have a
take it?
number
Okay, that's
in the
fine.
final count, but in the spring, we had about a 98% pass rate.
Great.
Yeah.
And that many students are opting to take it.
We had 140 some students enrolled.
Great.
So we had good success. But we screened the kids and we encouraged them to be serious about taking the course and credential.
Great, thank you.
You're welcome. Any other comments? Okay. Is there any other discussion?
Thank you.
Next, Mr. Edwards will give us a report from the Code of Ethical and Professional Conduct Ad Hoc Committee. And the new revised Code of Ethics, it was part of our packet, our agenda packets.
I just previously reported to my colleagues in an email that transmitted this in advance, well in advance, I think a week or 10 days ago. The committee that we put together reviewed it, simply tried to clarify it. There was no intent to change anything, make any substantive changes. A code of ethics kind of is what it is, and we would hopefully all support it, and then hopefully comply with it during the year. And as you've heard over time, there's been some perceptions that we don't always, all of us, do it perfectly. But I would, the only comment I got back was from Mrs. Rye, and she and I had a discussion on it. So I don't have any further report personally. Mr. McDonald and Mrs. Riggs worked with me on it. So if they have anything they want to add, I would encourage them to do so, and then we'll open it up for questions.
Do we have anything else? Any questions? Ms. Weems?
Yeah, I had a couple places. I know between 6, 7, and 8. So it was crossed out, except the decisions and the majority. So that used to be in there, and then y'all crossed that out. Correct?
I can answer to that. So if you know, 8 really replaces what gets crossed out. Our numbering on our document got a little wonky, so it lost its number when it got crossed out like that. But the wording now mirrors more what I think what the VSBA sample code says, which talks about seeking desired improvement. And so we wanted to sort of combine that idea with this idea of respecting the decisions of the majority of the board. So instead of just saying you accept the decision of the majority of the board but advocate based on whatever, we said, we always want to seek desired improvements, but we also need to make sure that we're respecting the decisions and supporting the implementation of those decisions. So that's why that replacement, we thought that language spoke more to our role and responsibility as board members than what we had previously.
Because I know that was a kind of a discussion last time, because some of us felt like we can still advocate, even though, and I bring up this example all the time about kindergarten. Full-day kindergarten got voted down, and then some people kept, advocating for it. I mean, we've got something that a couple of us had said that we wanted to revisit, valedictorian and salutatorian. So to me, taking that out kind of means that this doesn't allow for a board after they get like if I get input from the community that really a lot of people want me to revisit something, I think I have the right to respectfully revisit it. So to me, this takes that out.
And our feeling was that seek desired improvement fell under that. So what we wanted to do is to encourage people to seek desired improvement without necessarily encouraging them to go out and continually advocate for change. So I think that as board members, that's what we should be doing. Like I said, it mirrors the language from the SBA. When I got on the board, the code at the time just basically said, accept the decisions of the majority of the board. And there was no other piece of that. So last year's discussion, we wanted to expand on that and say there's still opportunity for board members to engage on issues, even if there have been decisions made. But we felt like the wording from the SBA met, again, our role and responsibility as board members, which isn't to merely advocate for change, but really seek desired improvement while respecting what's already been in place.
Okay. And then number 9, I think that's your number 9, with the red, refrain from interfering with that authority. Can you explain kind of what that means?
I think this was something Mr. Edwards wanted to highlight a bit more in that item. So if he wants to speak to that, I'm happy to have him.
We not only can advocate, but we, in a governance role, but when we either dialogue or potentially visit schools and make comments, it's easy for us to move out of the governance role into management, which is not our prerogative. And there have been some occasions where that has happened, and we're hopeful that this will clarify that, if there are issues and problems, we discuss them either with the superintendent or each other, and we don't go out there and try to change or fix things ourselves.
I was talking about number 9. Was that not, were you talking about number 9?
Which number 9?
Refrain from interfering with the superintendent's authority. Is that what you were explaining?
That my comments were you are interfering with his authority if we go out and either electronically dialogue with staff below the superintendent, or visit schools and make comments, and that can be perceived as direction. That is, that's interference with his authority.
You visit school, you don't direct when you're at school. Yes.
It should not be done, and that's hopefully trying to clarify that it should not be done.
Mrs. Manning?
So on that same topic, I mean, we have that in our bylaws that shouldn't be done. So I think that part is a little bit repetitive if you're looking to reduce the length of this. That could be a way that you do it, because it's already in our bylaws. It states that. When I was on this committee that created this document, I don't remember if it was a year or 2 ago, there were several of us who strongly felt that the advocating for change, when I believe change would benefit our division, needed to be in there. Because so many times when we are advocating for change because we disagree with something, we can support a decision and not interfere it, but also advocate for change. And I was going to use the example that Ms. Weems used regarding valedictorian and salutatorian. I strongly believe that we should bring that back, and I'm going to continue advocating for that. But I'm not going to interfere with its implementation. So I would really like to see the wording of advocating for change when I believe that change would benefit our division remain in there, because I think that can be too much of a gray area. Another concern that I have with this is it's just non-binding. So many of these have been violated over the last 2 years by many, and it's just non-binding. I just don't understand the purpose of it if it's non-binding, and that's just my viewpoint.
So my opinion is if you sign your name to a document stating that you agree to abide by it, whether it's non-binding legally or not, if you sign your name to something, you should support it. That's just the way I feel.
But that hasn't been done.
Correct. in many instances. Mr. Edwards?
The elements that are buried in bylaws or policies or regs that might refer to the board that are important enough for us to public commit to. That's why they're stated here. There are a lot of things in the bylaws that are obviously not in here, but the things that are in here are the things that either largely were in there in a slightly different form or have been clarified in the current proposed form. From a process standpoint, I would suggest that if there are those who have proposed alternative wording, that they create that and provide it to the chair and to the clerk so that we can, engage in those proposed changes at the next meeting.
Right, because this will be on action at our next meeting. So we'll vote on it at our next meeting. So if you have some proposed changes, please let us know ahead of time, and we can provide those to the board. Any other comments? Okay, do we have, Madam Clerk, do we have any, I'm sorry, do we have any standing committee reports? That's next. Mrs. Riggs.
For Sister Cities, I just want to announce that our the ambassador, Sister Cities Youth Ambassador Gala is going to be March 1st at MOCA, and we have 6 or 7 students who are competing for this title, and it should be really good. There's some great talent with our students here. I have tickets, and the tickets will be $25 for adults and $10 for students. And so if you would like to purchase one, please see me. If you have any other questions, you can ask me too about it.
Mrs. Rye?
Thank you. So, to policy committee notes, due to the Christmas holiday, our meeting originally scheduled for this Thursday has been rescheduled for next Friday, January 18th, 1:30 to 3:30. And second, and it was just distributed here to all my colleagues, an updated committee forecast or plan of action, so that you know what to expect upcoming in these next 3 to 6 months. So the policy manual is broken down by section, as I think most of my colleagues know by now. Section 4 personnel, we're still wrapping up some matters, looking to complete that in the next 3 months. And the same with the student section. So, there was a previous plan of action, and we stuck to it to the best of our ability, but it's foremost our job is to always deal with present things that aren't always planned either. So I think there was a very good balance that we were able to move forward with the previous plan of action to the extent we could, while still addressing some other very important issues that we can't control timing over. And then we're looking to begin Section 3, the business and non-instructional operations, in March, and Section 7, community relations, to pick that up again. So as you know, we have certainly seen in the past 12 months some policies from Sections 3 and 7, but this again would be a focus on those 2 sections once the previous 2 are completed. And for the record, what's not on here, but the remaining section would be Section 2, which is administration. But this is as far as we extended it now, and it's going to keep the committee and all of us with reading pretty busy enough, I think, for now. So any questions on this? Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Mrs. Manning?
So I serve on the Virginia Beach Mayor's Committee for People with Disabilities, and the committee is going to be having an awards ceremony on February 21st. I believe the time is 3 o'clock. That has not been confirmed yet. If that changes, I'll let you know. But the committee is going to be providing awards to citizens, either businesses or individuals in our community, who have gone above and beyond to help are citizens in Virginia Beach of people with differing abilities or special needs. So I think it's going to be a great opportunity for us to get out and thank them and recognize them. And I can provide you with the exact time and date in an email in the future.
Thank you. Anyone else have a committee report?
Just
Ms.
to,
Weems?
yeah, just to say that the Green Run Collegiate monthly meeting in December was canceled. So that's why I don't have a report, but I will have one later on this month. Thank you.
Anyone else? That concludes our formal meeting. Madam Clerk?